And Alexander Isak's future at Newcastle is still making plenty of headlines. We'll get the very latest from Eddie Howe. That's at 9:30 this morning. Jamie, thank you very much. Plenty of focus on Newcastle at the moment as the Alexander Isak saga rumbles on. Let's hear from Eddie Howe now.
Good morning, Eddie. Before we come on to the match, just want to ask you firstly about Alexander Isak, and has anything changed over the last couple of days with his situation?
No, there's been no change.
So he, again, won't be part of your squad? Is that your expectation?
Yeah, no, he won't be part of the squad for this weekend's game.
Over the summer, you've answered a lot of questions about him, but earlier this week there was an exchange of words publicly. He published a statement. The club responded quite quickly. Is it helpful to you that there is now other communication about this situation coming from the club, coming from higher up?
Yeah, I'd always say my preference for these things is it doesn't happen publicly, because I think everything is better dealt with behind closed doors, but needs must, and in this situation the club has spoken, and probably justifiably so in that moment.
And is it still your hope that he can be reintegrated into the squad, even if that is dependent on him?
Yeah, of course. He's contracted to us, he's our player. My wish is that he would be playing on Monday night with us, but he won't be, and that's regrettable at this moment. But he 100%, I want to see him back in a Newcastle shirt.
I wonder how you're dealing with this unique situation with Alex. How are you dealing with it personally?
I think, of course, these situations are far from ideal, as in talking press-wise, and a lot of the attention has gone on to that rather than the team and our preparation. But in terms of, as soon as I leave here, I'm back with the team. I'm back preparing, training, taking training, delivering meetings, speaking to individual players, trying to get the group in the best frame of mind possible. So the job never changes. Just the outside perception is, of course, one that's totally different to normal.
I guess you're seeing Alex though, aren't you? Because he's arriving in the afternoon to do his own training, and you're still here. Are you having conversations with him, and how is your relationship with him despite all this that's going on?
Yeah, I haven't seen him this week, I don't think. I saw him last week. Yeah, when I see him, we speak as normal. There's no issues there between us. Of course, it's a difficult situation from both sides, and I can see it's far from ideal for both parties, and that includes Alex and us. But no, when we see each other, we're fine and we speak. But as I say, I haven't run into him this week. He's training later on and detached from the group, and of course then I'm in meetings and pulled all over the place during the day. My days are chaotic because there's so much going on in them. But we will, I'm sure, catch up at some stage and hopefully speak soon.
And with every day that passes closer to the deadline, it's increasingly likely that Alex will be a Newcastle player beyond the end of the transfer window. You said that the door is wide open for him. How do you turn the situation around and reintegrate him well as part of the group?
I think that's probably a conversation for another day. At the moment, that is not an option for us. So rather than talk hypotheticals, I'd rather talk when we get there, when we get to that point, and then, of course, we'll enter that phase and see what we need to do to try and get the best for Alex, get the best for the team, which is always the priority. But until that point, I think we're best focusing on the players we have available for the next game.
OK, more from Eddie Howe throughout the day on Sky Sports News. Here's a reminder of what he has just said. He said there is no change. Alexander Isak will not be part of the squad to take on Liverpool in the Monday night football. He says, my wish is that he would be playing. He won't be. That's regrettable. But 100% I want him back in a Newcastle shirt. He says he hasn't seen or spoken to him this week and says it's far from ideal for both parties, both Isak and Newcastle. What do you think we learnt from hearing from Eddie Howe just now?
That he's not spoken to Isak. I mean, people.
Is that a surprise?
Yes and no. Yes for me, because you're in the same training ground. Yes, he's training in the afternoon, but Eddie Howe is probably there. But people say, hey, okay, how can that happen? Normally, the manager in the afternoons is then doing the behind-the-scenes work. He's obviously press, media, meetings, reviewing games, analysing games, speaking to scouts behind the scenes, preparing for next game. So he's busy. Isak comes in, maybe he's in a different area, doing his thing, changed, gone, whatever. So those things can happen, of course. But I just think that Eddie Howe is getting very frustrated with it. I think clearly Isak's very frustrated, because I think there's been a lot of talk about Isak and you know, how can he do this? There's clearly, and based on his statement, there's clearly some promises that were made. And he said, the club's known my position for a long time. Now, players can do that. And there's been lots of players that have said, listen, I want to leave. And clearly, that might have been at the end of last season that he said this, and there's been promises. And those promises have been broken. And then he's frustrated and said, listen, well, I'm about loyalty. And if you said this and I believe I'm going to be sold, then why are you not doing that? So there's been a clear, miscommunication, breakdown. But I think Eddie Howe wants the matter closed as soon as possible. And I think he's really waiting, and he can't wait for the transfer deadline, because at that point, either Liverpool are going to come in and say, here's the money, we'll take the player, and it meets the required amount of money, or he's a Newcastle player. Right now, I believe it's 50-50, to be honest, because there's a lot of money that's demanded for him, and even probably Isak. I think probably the one thing that frustrates Isak is he's probably thinking, you're asking too much money for me. I'm not worth that. And I think that's what he's thinking. If it is, for example, 110, 115, maybe 120, he's probably thinking, guys, Newcastle, that's enough. I don't think I'm worth more than that. You should take it. So I think that's part of the discussion and the frustration from Isak's side.
Well, Newcastle value him at £150 million, reportedly. In terms of this situation being resolved, you said it's 50-50 what happens. If he stays at Newcastle, and you'd have been there as a player yourself, and you'd have been in squads where players have had to be reintegrated after situations like this, just how difficult is that? Or once he plays, if he scores, do things completely change it and go back to normal? Or can they ever go back to normal?
I think in this situation, if he stays at Newcastle, I believe there would be some kind of apology from him to the team. Because I think you're still in the team environment, and the other players in that dressing room would probably want an apology to say, listen, you didn't want to play for us for the last few weeks. They probably know the reasons why. I'm sure that's quite open in the dressing room. But at the same time, then, if he does stay, does apologise, players, to be honest with you, in the dressing room, they'll quickly welcome him in, because they know he's a quality player. He's going to score goals. He's going to help them. He's a world-class player. That's I don't think we have to say that. But at the same time, I think he will fit straight in. I think he won't have a problem once he apologises and says, listen, guys, I'm ready to play. Let's go. But listen, I think it's going to get messier as the transfer deadline comes. And I don't think this is really going to be a quick fix. Because I think there's been a lot of breakdown between Newcastle and Isak.
Well, it's certainly going to be an incredible atmosphere on Monday night. A reminder, you can see Newcastle take on Liverpool in what could be a blockbuster Monday night football. Watch it on Sky Sports Premier League from 6:30.